Hello and welcome. Today I have a jungle Sevarog game for you guys, and we will go into some of the item choices I made here, which I'll admit it was not very strong. This was my first game in the jungle and as Sevarog, and I learned quite a bit from it. So our starting items are Titan Crest, Hunt, and Health Potion. Now, Hunt is, for those of you who may not know, Hunt is the jungler item, which allows you to eventually evolve it, and once it evolves, it's actually consumed, and it does not take up a item slot. So, pretty cool. I like how that works. It's pretty convenient. One thing that I want to say is stacking as Sevarog in Predecessor has a bit of a different pace. It certainly has a bit of a different pace. And took me a while to get used to. I don't really quite land a lot of stacks at the start, but I managed. We opted to go for the Titan Crest, and again, for those of you who may not be acquainted with crests, they are basically the equivalent of like a quest item. I know League of Legends has this system, and apparently it works very similar to those, but before I get into that, we're ganking mid here against a Howie, and we try to body block as much as possible, and our mid laner scores the kill. So all in all, pretty good rotation mid, and I make my way back to the jungle. Green buff provides bonus shield. You guys might remember, I'm pretty sure it was the same in Paragon. And now I'm rotating to this lane for the gank, but I was a little bit too late there. I want to get the Drongo. And we're able to get him. So it ended up being a 1-for-1 trade, which is pretty good, even though I was late. Couldn't quite get the Narbash, or we do. Yeah, we do. Very nice. So I had a really good start this game. Going back to the Crest talk, so I opted to go for Titan Crest. It has a passive that heals 10 plus 0.75% of max health over 15 seconds after taking damage. And it has a pretty cool effect too that now that I'm looking more closely, the healing is doubled for 5 seconds after killing an enemy unit. And to evolve the Crest, you need to heal 400 HP. So we're at 176 currently. We picked up the Fire Blossom, which is one of the recommended items, and it's a pretty interesting item. The key passive that it has is it deals magic damage in an AoE around us. So you see that those 16 damage ticks for that is in blue. That's due to our Fire Blossom item. And I agreed with this recommendation, and I picked it because I assumed jungle clearing would take a lot of time and be quite slow, especially in the early game as Sevarog. So I thought it would help me out with that alongside doing damage to heroes. So pretty much like it's a pretty solid item all around. Oh, I'm so sorry. I call that item a Fire Blossom. It's actually a Brimstone. It eventually evolves into the Fire Blossom. But you know, the health is on the Fire Blossom. The Brimstone is obviously ideal. The mana, not so much, but it's still, you know, it never hurts to have a little extra mana. Here we're ganking mid again. And we don't do any damage. We just, I mean, we don't get the kill, but we do some damage. There is Fangtooth. Now, the jungle definitely has a unique layout in that it takes a little bit of time to really get the pathing down. Here, the Drongo uses his blink, and I was able to subjugate before he silenced that black and white screen popped up because we were within Drongo's AoE silence, which is, I think, a really, really nice visual indicator that you're silenced. I mean, you're never gonna, once you know what it means, you're never gonna mistaken it. Mid is lazy backing, so we take full advantage of this. And unfortunately, our mid got ganked at the same time. We have the Wire Angel on the enemy Kalari, and he's a very crafty player. He's quite good. All in all, we go back to farming afterwards. But the lanes in the jungle are going to take some time to learn, especially if you have characters. I mean, it's even better if you have characters that can traverse some areas of the jungle, but even Sevarog is a special case. Now, one of the testers told me that he can traverse some of the areas that you have to jump, because the way that his dash works, it allows him to just kind of close the gap enough to make it over the wall, interestingly enough. However, once I pack out those areas in my mind, I'll make a video on it just to kind of help people learn the optimal jungle pathing, because as a jungler, that's incredibly important. So here we're gonna wait for our Fire Blossom. It gives a little bit more of the AoE damage, more of the juicy stats, particularly health and physical armor. And I feel, I missed this, but our crest leveled up from a Titan crest to a Goliath crest. So the Goliath crest has an additional stat of 1 HP regen, which is always nice, especially as a jungler. And eventually we'll be able to level it up. But so I feel like, as far as I played Sevarog up to this point, I feel like I played him pretty well, almost not optimally, but in regards to like my build choice, I feel like, yeah, it was this is pretty much, I think, what's going to be like my standard opener for Sevarog. However, after this point, I make some poor decisions in items, but I'll explain it when we get there. Now, Hunt, if you notice on the left, it says consumed, because we killed enough jungle minions in order to consume it and evolve that item. I mean, I don't know if it's technically evolved, but it kind of feels that way, right? You have a quest, you gotta kill X amount of jungle minions, and then it'll evolve. So I'm looking for a mid gank here. He's nowhere to be found. We don't want to waste any more time. They're getting Fangtooth. I'm gonna try to contest it. And unfortunately, I'm alone here, so I'm gonna get eaten up. It was rough. It was a rough fight for us. But I think we made the right decision there. I think that's the right call. The thing that I was not exactly aware of is how to contest the jungle minion, because the way that Hunt works is, and for again, Hunt is the jungle item. The way Hunt works is if you auto attack the jungle creature under a certain threshold, it will be executed. Now, this is a bit of a precarious situation for the junglers, as you saw there, because he had about 650 HP, and I could have possibly stolen it if I auto-attacked instead of subjugated it, because I don't think subjugating gives the execute effect. I don't believe it does. I could be wrong, but I don't think it does. However, they scored the first Fang Tooth. So these fights, I believe, are going to boil down to the junglers, all like both Orb Prime and Fang Tooth. And if your team scores a kill on the enemy jungler while the two teams are contesting it, it's pretty much a guaranteed secure on the objective, which is something that I learned as I was playing this. It's going to have a huge impact on the fights, because you know, normally if you're a jungler and you sacrifice yourself in the team fight, your team is in a good enough position to secure the objective. However, that's not going to be the case here. If you sacrifice yourself early, you can very well cost your team the objective, which is going to be a fine line to walk, especially if you're a tank character. Like if you're building tank as a jungler, as a Sevarog probably always should. But here we get a good ult on the Narbash, but that blink coming into play saves him. And here the enemy Kalari is just damaging us. Yeah. Kalari is scary, and I blink away. I dash and I blink away. But Kalari is very quick. Very quick. I was kind of... Kalari is an impressive character in Wire Angel. He probably would have killed us if he hit us with that dagger. Unfortunately, we're unable to escape Briddick on Howie. He's able to secure the kill there. I should have kept running to the right, to the other side of the map instead of going up mid lane. I might have been able to survive there. But yeah, here is a big choice. Our Crest evolves into its final form. We have the choice between Near Warboots, Razorback, and Saphir Mantle. I opt to go for a Razorback, partly because the item that I'm building is Flux Matrix. And Flux Matrix is, I don't think it was a good choice. Like, it's not the worst choice. I chose it because nearby heroes take an additional 20% magic damage. And it gives some other good stats like HP regen, and magic armor. It also gives 10 ability haste. And 35% tenacity, which is also crowd control reduction. And for those of you who are not privy to what ability haste is, it's basically CDR, otherwise known as cooldown reduction. So I was thinking, like, it could do good damage. You know, I'm tanky. I'm gonna be sticking to them. It's gonna do decent damage, but it didn't really work out that well in practice. I would just usually get burned down too quickly. And the Crest evolution item that I chose, Razorback, I don't think it was a good choice in this situation. Saphir's Mantle would have been much better. Even Near Warboots. Both, I think I chose the worst option here, and that's kind of why I said at the beginning of the game, I made a bit of an oopsie there. But I mean, that's to be expected. It's my first game. So, yeah, you know, for those of you who may not know what Razorback does, it reflects damage. Yeah, it reflects damage back at them, which is good in a lot of cases, but I didn't use it effectively, and particularly against the Kalari. Using it against Kalari, it can, I think, be pretty good. Because the way that Kalari works in Predecessor, it's not like Paragon or any other spiritual successor of Paragon. You should just brush up and get well acquainted with how Kalari works, because I'm sure you've noticed in a lot of the early videos that were released after the stress test and the creator event, a lot of people were posting videos of like 20 kill Kalari games, and that's because Kalari, people don't know how to play around her, specifically her abilities. Her death mark is pretty devastating, and if you don't react properly to try to minimize the damage, it's going to kill you over and over, which is what happened to most people. Death mark basically is like a debuff that has a timer that when it counts down all the way, it deals damage based on the damage taken, I believe, and the missing health. So, you know, it's not uncommon for Kalari to, you know, like proc death mark and then ult right into you, because she has her old ult, which is like a dash that is like basically a high damage dash, which is like a big nuke. So in this scenario, Razorback would have been really nice in our engagements with Kalari when she applies death mark, and that we can use our Razorback active when the death mark damage kicks in to deal a nice little chunk back. Obviously not ideal. We would prefer not to have Razorback, but in this situation, that's probably the best use of it. Here we encounter the other enemy, Sevarog, in the game. He is being played by none other than Hitplay. Very nice guy. Here we exchange a nice greeting, as every Sev bro should do to his other Sev bro. It's only right. At this stage in the game, I started off like a bat out of hell, and then I see how far I've fallen. You know, I just got to level 10. Hitplay is level 12. And so I see that we have some ground to make up. You know, a lot of it was just due to some bad ganks and unfortunate engagements, like back at Fangtooth. So I'm waiting for the solo laner to come back here. I'm trying to catch up on farm a little bit with just farming the lane and trying to accrue stacks here. I'm probably not the best situation. I probably should have rotated over to mid a while ago, especially since the solo laner rotated to mid and they were able to kill our Sparrow. Just so you guys are aware, the way that hunt works on Sevarog, so as you know that you have the execute from the hunt, and you always get the stacks on the red and blue buff, always. Because it executes at such a, with the HP bar being a lot higher, you always get the stacks, even if you don't last in them with an ability. I spent way too much time farming here. I should have been helping my team out a lot more, and it's gonna be a situation where it's like too little too late here. We get stunned and we're just gonna get damaged. I popped my Razorback too early. It does absolutely nothing. Which is Razorback. I love the concept of the item. It's going to take a very keen sense of timing to make good use of. Like you really have to have experience with it. It's gonna take time, especially if you want to get good with it. So here we build our Flux Matrix. And I think, unfortunately, our build is all over the place. We choose to go for an Unbroken Will here, which it's kind of a call to Unbroken Spirit, the Paragon card. Unbroken Will, if we're able to complete it, it will heal us every single time we take some form of CC. But unfortunately our build is a bit all over the place. So we're at this point in the game, we kind of threw away the advantage that we had early because we're pretty I want to say milk toast. I don't even know what that means, but it just sounds fitting. So, but our build is really, it's mediocre for sure. Now, Fangtooth is about to be up and they've already secured 2. Just so you guys know, your games are probably not going to look like this. Once the game is online and people are playing, people are going to learn the rhythm of the game and start to ward more and everything. Here, I just wanted to try to see if I can solo Fangtooth by myself, just for science. And it was not going well at all. Thank goodness the Sparrow came to help me because I would not be able to solo it on my own. And the Narbash here sees us. Our mid laner is keeping him out. However, the Narbash is not going to be able to contest whatsoever because only the jungler can. Like, the Narbash could somewhat contest, but he would have to stun me and then get the last hit on the Fangtooth before the stun finishes. And this is really bad. I thought we were safe, but we were definitely not. And they come in and clean me up. It's kind of funny. The mid laner that I was teleporting back with got away safe. He was his teleport went off in time, which it was kind of like miraculous. I was surprised. I was like, I was happy for him. But in that situation, I should have turned tail and used my teleport. That was just a bit of inexperience with the teleport mechanic. I have my teleport up. You should never die with your teleport up. Like, giving the enemy team a kill is huge. It's huge. But yeah, I'm still a bit inexperienced with the teleport mechanic. So we're death marked by the Klari here, and then once the death mark fails, we take a considerable amount of damage. I pop Razorback, which I probably should have done a long time ago, but we're not quite tanky enough to survive that. If we had near War Boots or Saphir Mantle, we probably are, to be honest. We probably don't die. Like our last 2 deaths, or at least 2 deaths, we probably don't die. Ooh, nice mine there. We're working our way towards our Unbroken Will. We built up a little bit of magic resistance.
Activated the Orb Prime.
Okay, So the enemy team now has the Orb Prime, and when a team has the Orb Prime, they are devastating. I mean, it is, you might just flat out lose. Like what I'm doing here right now, I'm being super greedy getting the red buff. I should just rotate immediately and help the team. When you're up against an Orb Prime push, your team just has to stop everything they're doing and defend. I'm a little bit late on that Razorback proc. I try to kill the enemy Sev here, but just a smidge too little. And I actually die here, I believe. We finally get the enemy Kalari, which the enemy Kalari was huge at this point. No, okay, so I survived. But yeah, Orb Prime ends games. It really does. It's super strong. There's two versions of Orb Prime. If you take it early in the game, it's like a smaller version, and it only gives the Orb Prime buff to a single character. So you basically, I think what you would want to do is either give it to the jungler and have him push mid lane, or give it to the mid laner and have him push mid lane. You definitely don't. You want to protect your Orb Prime buff character at that point, because it gives the buff to the minions. So you know, early game, it's still worth it. You can definitely get a big push off of it because the minions become really powerful, and mid is probably the optimal lane to push in. But late game, when all 5 characters receive the Orb Prime buff, it's huge. It's huge. Predecessor is definitely a game of objectives. The objectives, like you know, you can excel as a single character, and you could even go maybe like 25 and 2. But if the enemy team is securing objectives, you're probably going to lose. It's incredibly important, and that's why unfortunately our Fang Mao is across the map, and Fangtooth is up, and we have to contest this. And I see the Kalari. I pop his spell shields just because it's a good idea, and then the enemy team is here, and unfortunately it's a 5 vs 4, which is with them having Orb Prime. It's there's no chance at all, which sucks. But it just goes to show you that's just how it is. I try to save our Sparrow. I end up dying in the process, I think, and not even saving him, unfortunately. But yeah, that's what happens. Telling you, Orb Prime. When the enemy team has Orb Prime, I think it just faded now, which sucks for us. But I think that's going to be a rule of thumb, especially in pickup games and pub matches. Whenever the enemy team has Orb Prime, everyone group together until it's down. Pretty much. Just group together until it's down. Otherwise, you're going to get picked apart like that, and you're just going to hand over them victory on the silver platter. And we finish our Unbroken Will, and we begin on our Life Binder, but it's just game over at this point. 9-30. All in all, it was a fun game. A good learning experience, but they stomp us here. And I go to see, I go to defend, but I accidentally hit the launch pad, which is kind of funny. I was laughing about it, but yeah. So this was
Allied towers destroyed.
You could see the gold breakdown here. Our team 45k to their team 58k, and everybody is just way over farmed than us. Our most farmed character in Fang Mao doesn't even have more farm than their support. So, I mean, it was pretty one-sided. This was a pretty one-sided match, but I think it illuminates a lot of important lessons that I hope some people will learn from, because it's going to, you're gonna save like 1 to 5 games of learning them, and the specific lessons are that Polari, who you should be very well aware of here, in her death mark ability and how it works. So, you know, she will proc death mark, and then her next ability applies the debuff. And if you have low HP and Polari is still a certain distance away, she can use death mark and then throw a knife to apply it to you, and then the death mark damage is going to do a nice chunk of damage because of your missing HP. So that's something that may not occur to a newer player. They might think, oh, she's far away, she can't, you know, hit me with her dash or whatever. No, you don't want to give her the chance to get an easy kill from applying a death mark when you're low HP. You're pretty much with the Polari on the map, she's going to be looking at the mini map, see your low HP, and start making her way towards you. Because that's all it takes. Her to death mark and hit you with a dagger. And guess what? She could, in Predecessor, Polari has 2 daggers. Like, she can have up to 2 charges. So she can death mark you with 1 dagger and hit you again with another dagger, and then you're dead. And with how much of a snowball hero Polari is, that could be huge in the game. Again, that's why you saw so many videos with Polari having like 20 kills after the stress test, and it's part of the reason because nobody really knew how to play around her. I don't think she, like a lot of people said she was strong. I think she's okay. I don't think she's particularly overpowered or stronger than any other character. People just don't know how to properly react to her. So that is like the first lesson. Always be conscious of Polari and the way her death mark works. Like if you're at 60% HP and she goes to gank you and she hits you with a death mark, you should just disengage, because her plan is to get you to just 20% HP or something, and hopefully the death mark will just take care of the rest. So you want to be very particular in the battles you choose against Polari. And I think that's the most important lesson of this match. The second just being objectives. Objectives are key to Predecessor. Fangtooth is one that it has compounding effects, and it's something that you like. The way that this game, the rhythm will flow, the team has to be there to contest Fangtooth. It has to be there to contest Orb Prime. People are going to learn that more as time goes on, which I'm confident they will, but that's going to be the teams that secure those objectives statistically are going to win significantly more. Anyway, that is my first commentary on the first game I'm going to release. I think I have about 7 total. So stay tuned for those in the coming days. Everyone, I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoyed Predecessor content, please subscribe. I will be releasing much more in the future. Everyone, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. This is JPie, and I am out. Peace.